So in 2015 I began my flat earth journey, and by early 2016 I had progressed to the point where I had to make a personal decision as to what model, either heliocentric or geocentric azimuthal equidistant, I was going to go with. Which model seemed to me to have the most credible evidence to support? It was at this point that a feeling came over me, one that I hadn't felt in years. It took several hours of searching the hard drive, so to speak, before I could pinpoint the memory and situation that had less set off said feeling. It was February 1985, when I was 12 years old. The day a certain news magazine on the American Broadcasting Company aired an expose on pro wrestling that set off a chain reaction which fundamentally changed the business of pro wrestling forever. It was the day Kayfabe died. Now, what exactly is Kayfabe? Well, Kayfabe is a term used by professional wrestling companies that, in layman's terms, means to maintain the performance not only within the confines of the wrestling show, but outside of it as well. It is the adherence to the fiction of the product in order to enhance and maintain the suspension of disbelief. Pro wrestling, up until the mid-'80s, always carried on as if its events were depicted as actual sports competitions, despite the colorful characters and the frequent breaking of rules. Business insiders maintained strict rules of kayfabe, such as two feuding wrestlers were never to be seen in public together. Two performers, one a heel or a bad guy, and another, a face or a good guy, were never to be seen sharing a car ride to the next show, or eating in the same restaurant, or even staying in the same hotel. If too many fans saw them break character outside of the show, it was feared that this would eventually destroy the business. Just as an aside, try to imagine if the cast of your favorite television show were required to behave like their characters do outside of the production, like in interviews and anytime they were out shopping at the mall. A show like Friends, attempting to maintain kayfabe, would be problematic enough, to say nothing of shows like Star Trek and Game of Thrones. As a 12-year-old kid who had an oversized poster of Hulk Hogan in his room, I was a staunch believer in this product. There were all kinds of clues out there that what I watched on television and saw at live events were not actual sports events, but I rationalized all those clues away. When a wrestler gave another a forearm smash, said wrestler always lifted their leg and stomped their foot when they brought their forearm down on their opponent. Now, anyone who's ever been in an actual fight or even just horsed around in the playground knows that you can't get much force behind the move if you do that. But I just assumed that pro wrestling required forearm smashes to be done that way, the same way other sports established legal and illegal moves in their competitions. Why did I do this? It wasn't just because I liked pro wrestling. It was because it was presented to me as real. Everyone from the ring announcers to the referees to the broadcast hosts to the fans that surrounded me at the actual events all behaved as though it was a real competition between two parties, each seeking to win over the other. The day I realized that we didn't live on a globe was like the day I realized that pro wrestling wasn't real, only on a much bigger, grown-up scale. How can a man take a tombstone piledriver and still get up and wrestle and not be permanently disabled? How come ships don't go below the horizon when you film them using long-distance photography? How come when Rocky Johnson punches someone with both fists at the same time, his opponents seem to overreact? If that move is so effective, why don't boxers do it? Why, if the Earth's curvature within the first 100,000 miles comes out to about 8 inches per mile squared, can I see a 30-story building in its entirety from 80 miles away using infrared photography? If Hulk Hogan is so supremely mad at Macho Man for having cost him the title, why is Hulk Hogan not dropping F-bombs every other word like most people would during the post-match interview? Why would a Chinese flight from Taiwan to Los Angeles have to divert to Alaska when one of their passengers went into labor? Why do old school pro wrestlers all have the same scarring on their foreheads as if they've been cut there dozens upon dozens of times? Why haven't we been to the moon since the Apollo missions in the early 70s? How does the referee keep getting knocked out week after week right before the heel wrestler clobbers the face wrestler with a foreign object? This happens every week. He should have brain damage by now, one would think. Why are astronauts telling us we can't go to the moon like we did in 1969 because NASA lost the data and technology to do so in the years since? One would think the greatest human achievement would have been higher on their list of priorities. Now, opposite of kayfabe is the shoot. A shoot interview, for example, is an interview in which the wrestler is not in character and is, quote-unquote, shooting it to us straight. After kayfabe was exposed before a national audience on 2020 and 1985, the business of pro wrestling began to change. Yes, of course the matches are predetermined. It's a show, the wrestling promoters said. It's sports entertainment. That's all it's ever been. It was never what you thought it was. Since the modern flat earth movement kicked into high gear in 2016, the purveyors of globe kayfabe have been playing catch-up. It's taken them years to come up with responses to many of Flat Earth's points, and most of them amount to straw men at best. People have known the Earth was a spinning globe ever since long before Copernicus and Airy's failure, they now say. All ancient cultures knew we were on a spinning ball. We don't know where you flat earthers ever got the idea that anyone has ever thought the Earth was flat and unmoving. The globe, you see, is professional wrestling. It's kayfabe. Now, we can forgive pro wrestling. Pro wrestling merely seeks to make money by entertaining us. Anyone in advertising will tell you that when you advertise, you're selling emotions. What emotions are pro wrestling companies selling? Well, excitement, fear for your hero, hatred for the bad guy, love, all in the name of giving us some good old escapist entertainment. Now, what emotions does the globe sell? Well, the globe makes us feel less important, insignificant. The globe and its adherents are selling you the emotions that come with the concept that you are virtually nothing, barely a speck living on an object that is itself barely a speck in their universe. We were created by accident, you see, without purpose and without importance. Many people call Flat Earth a conspiracy. No, my friends. No. The globe is the conspiracy. It's kayfabe. Flat Earth is the shoot.